You are a person from psychology and you have your PhD on emotional intelligence, as I came to know. So, how does it help to consult and give some kind of therapies to people? Because I will call it a therapy rather than a course, because there are a lot of people who have everything, and I guess they are best suited people also for a company or firm, but they do not have the mental setup, or they are not ready for certain things, and in order to make them come and work for an organization, it requires a lot and lot of help. And I usually find a lot of students like that who are very good, but they still not know that they are good, or they do not accept that they are good, or they cannot put those things up in front of somebody so that the other person can also understand that yes, they are very good. So, and since you are a person from psychology and you have extensively worked on this area, so my question will be more a simple one: that what will be your suggestion, since you have so many years of experience as well behind you, that what will be your suggestion to those people who are finding it very difficult these days, because either they are stuck at home, or they are still not finding their dream jobs, or they lack the skill so that they can be employable. So what should be your suggestion, that what should they do in order to believe in themselves and think that yes, they can still do it irrespective of the fact of the say current
Right.
situation and so on.
So, right. It's a tough one, I'm sure, because, often as psychologists, we are often questioned, that you're a psychologist, you are not allowed to be, pessimistic, or you're not allowed to, get angry. So, of course, we are also humans and we also have equal right to be pessimistic or upset, right? Right. But yes, of course, I think that's what we apply to ourselves as psychologists, and that's what we kind of share with our friends, family, or clientele as well. That
Mhm.
I think two skills that really will make a lot of difference in the coming, corporate sector or the coming world will be two skills. Which one will be resilience, and the other one will be adaptable. So
Mhm.
it's very imperative that one is resilient, right? And I think the flame of resilience lies in in the spirit of hope. So so one should never give up on that hope factor, that
Mhm.
that things will turn around. And yes, so maybe until 2019 everything was good for everybody, right? But eventually it didn't turn out good for everybody. Right? So
Yeah,
when
that is
the
true.
good things came to an end, and the bad things about the world came out. So obviously one has to be resilient and hopeful that even these bad times will pass and the good times will come back again,
Yeah.
right? And also it's important that for all of those people who unfortunately lost their jobs, right? Or or have find it difficult to come back to jobs. So again, so it's very important that you utilize this duration, this time, to upskill yourself, because
Mhm.
the world, post all this, when this gets over, it's going to ask for a lot, right?
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of quest for technology, right? People are going to be asking you that how are you on technology, right? How upgraded or skilled you are at technology.
Mhm.
And technology not necessarily means something to do with not really technology, I would rather say, but about skills for that matter. So one has to really upskill oneself, learn new, if you are in the space of IT, learn new languages, or if you are in the space of HR, learn new ways on improving HR systems. So the crux is that one has to upskill oneself in whatever uh, in whatever function or domain you are, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's the that's something that I really want to share, is that upskilling is the uh, I think it's the need of the hour. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I think that won't go away.
Yeah, that is very much required. We also feel that students are really facing it the most, because they have to stay back at home and study. They cannot do much outside. The whole fun part of being in an university or in a college is completely gone now. And,
Completely.
only things which are left is studies, and they do not study as well because they copy in the examination, and neither learning is taking place nor the enjoyment or fun is there. So that's really pertains for them, but I hope so that this will
Yeah,
not
but
stay
one has to
forever.
adapt to changing times. You can't really, keep sulking that times are not good or this is not what we can do. We don't know what's in store. Things might either get good or they might get better or they might get worse. We don't know. So I
Nobody
think
knows.
being flexible and being adaptable is something that all of us need to learn.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Tell me one thing more. What is it which made you start or found your managing story?
Okay, okay, sure.
That's a
So
history.
since you're already aware that I've been a psychologist and a psychometrician for
Hmm.
almost like 18 plus years now. So
Yeah.
it's been a long journey, right? But I would rather say we started off Nine Links officially, in the year 2016. That's when we launched. We, as in me and my a few more team members, right?
Okay.
So I started off with a small team, and that's when we started off. So a couple of things that struck my mind while I kind of so pre 2016 I kind of went into hibernation for about almost a year, figuring out that what is it that I want to do. And
Hmm.
before that I was heading a B school out here in Ahmedabad. And but
Yeah.
then I realized that
Big
maybe
shots, huh? Big shots. I was heading a B school. What does it mean, man? It's a big thing.
yeah. But then I kind of realized that I need to come back to where my roots are, and go back to psychology and psychometrics. So there were two things that I realized that one was definitely that even now for that matter, a lot of these psychometric tools that are popular in the Indian corporate sector were largely the ones which were developed abroad, in the Western countries. In fact, even as psychology students, I would have learned and read more about psychometric tools which were developed in the Western countries rather than the ones developed in India. Right. I don't know. I would not want to comment as to why the Indian tools did not pick up much. But yes, the ones which were popular were definitely the ones which were developed abroad. So that is what kind of, created a spark in me that given the background that I have, why not venturing out into developing a tool which is much more conducive to the Indian corporate sector, because I think India as a country, it has its own culture, right? So you can't compare. I often give this example that the organization culture of an organization which is, let's say, Pepsi in the US. Compared to the organization culture of PepsiCo in India will be very different,
Yeah.
for the simple reason that the culture of India is very diverse, right? So you can't compare an Indian to,
McDonald's
I
offer,
mean, even, yeah, right.
McDonald's offer this paneer wrap in India, but it never offers all
Correct,
those things in US,
correct,
right?
correct, right? Even the way we think, even the way we behave, for example, right? So that's where the thought that kind of struck me was that then how, if the two organization cultures are so different, then how can we use a tool which is developed in the Western countries? How can it be adapted to what extent, and how can it help in yielding results which are conducive to the Indian corporate sector? So that was the whole urge of developing a tool which is much more localized, closer to what is needed for the Indian corporate sector. That was the first urge. And the second was a lot of these tools, especially if we talk about the psychometric assessments, that are used, are largely for managers and above,
Okay.
right? Because of the simple reason that people might think that you can attempt a psychometric tool only when you are educationally qualified enough to take up one, right? So we kind of broke through that assumption that to take a psychometric test you don't need to be a manager or a leader. It could
Very
be
true.
by anybody, right? So we went about, in fact, we ventured out into developing psychometric tools for the blue collar workforce.
Mhm.
So that is where we kind of stand out. That's a niche that we have, where we
Mhm.
have psychometric tools which are meant for blue collar workforce. And because of the simple reason that maybe an ITI or a diploma might be good with technical skills, a plumber or an electrician, let's say. But what about his behavior skills, right? If
Mhm.
he is not if he's not collaborative at work, or if he kind of indulges into any kind of bullying behavior at work, or if he's not paying enough attention, right? So then how do you kind of take care of that, right? So that
Mhm.
is where we went about developing a tool which is specifically meant for the blue collar workforce. And the icing, to top it up, uh, it's available in multiple languages. So again,
Ah,
knowledge of English is not at all a
not at
challenge,
all
even if you
necessary.
don't
Yeah.
know English. If you know
Mhm.
English, we have it in a couple of languages. We have it in English, Hindi, Gujarati, Tamil, Telugu, right? So these are like the five major languages. So
In
I
India.
think that
Mhm.
works well for now. And so even
Mhm.
if you don't know English, I mean, it doesn't really
Oh, that's a
hamper.
very good, very, very good thing because before I started the interview, I just thought that we will keep the interview bilingual so that many people who do not understand English properly, even we do not speak English properly, so they all have all the right to not understand us also
Of
properly.
course, of course, of course.
So,
I mean,
so
I still remember. I think we were in school when one of our principals at that time, she had mentioned that the president of France, so he would just communicate in French. I mean, if you don't
hmm,
understand French, it's your problem, right? Why should I
yeah,
switch to a language which is foreign to me? Why should I
yeah,
learn a language
true,
to
true,
communicate?
true.
So my countrymen know French, so I would rather prefer talking in French, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because of the pre-independence era that we have,
Mhm.
and English has become a dominant language in our country, even now, for that matter,
Your
right?
first example was also with that, that if suppose somebody speaks English, then he's smart. Yeah.
Right. I think we still
Yeah.
continue believing in that taboo that that unless
All
you
the
don't.
native English speakers will be smarter then, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, that is the
Oh
truth.
yes.